Welcome, everyone, to The Journey. It's great to have you with us this morning. Welcome again to our online audience. Grateful for your presence, too, and invite you, as I do each week, to sign in, offer your presence to the community of faith here and to the Lord as we worship. How many of you have a boss? Anybody have a boss? How many of you like your boss? How many of you love your boss? Yeah, right? Anybody here work for yourself? Yeah? Few people are your own boss. I hear a lot of people in the course of my life say, I just want to be my own boss. That would be the best. You know what I've observed? Most people who are their own boss have like the worst boss in the world. Nobody works harder than somebody who is their own boss. More demanding, puts more time into the work that they do. Right? Sometimes being your own boss is the worst thing in the world. And they may not admit it, but if they don't admit it, the people who live with them, they will tell you they're a terrible boss. They have a terrible boss. Jesus, last week we looked at his invitation, his call to repent. And what he says in that invitation or that call, he says, if you're tired, if you're weary, if you're worn out from being your own boss, from running your own kingdom, from being in charge of your own life, turn away from that kingdom and come and join my kingdom. Repent, turn, change your mind about who the best boss is for your life, because the way that you're running it ain't working so good for you. Come and join. The kingdom of heaven is near. Come now and join my kingdom. That passage is at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. It's in Matthew chapter 4. And right after he extends that call, repent, change your mind about your kingdom, come join my kingdom, repent for the kingdom of heaven is near, he does this. He starts to build his team. He goes down to the seashore and he finds Peter and Andrew. He says, hey, you guys have been running this fishing business. I want you to leave your fishing business. I want you to come now and join my business, the kingdom business. Stop being your boss. Come and work for my team. And then he goes to James and John. Come, fishermen, and I will make you fishers of men. And they did. So, all right, we're leaving. We're going with you. And then the next thing that he does is what I like to call what we did in kindergarten. He did some show and tell. He says, I'm proclaiming my kingdom. And in Matthew chapter 5, verse 23 through 25, it says that people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, demon-possessed, those having seizures and the paralyzed, and he healed them. He healed them. Now, I think a lot of times we look at Jesus' miracles and we look at the amazing things that he did in his life and we think, yeah, that's proof, right? He's proving that he really is the anointed one. He's proving that he really is the Messiah. He's proving his divine capacity and his divine abilities. But what he's actually doing is more than that. He's not just saying, look, I must be God because look at the stuff that I can do. He's actually showing us what the kingdom of heaven that he's proclaiming, that he's announcing, looks like. In the kingdom of heaven, there is no sickness. There is no disease. There are no blind people. There are no lame people. There are no diseased people. There are no demon-possessed people. There are no tears, no sorrow, no suffering. When he's doing these things, he's showing us what the kingdom of heaven looks like. Show. So he's announced his kingdom. He's building his team. He's showing us what that kingdom looks like. And then in Matthew chapter 5, he preaches his first big sermon, probably his most famous sermon, the Sermon on the Mount. It's the tell of his kingdom. It's a manifesto of what this new kingdom is going to be like. The values of the kingdom. the experience of this kingdom. The Sermon on the Mount says, in the old kingdom, it was like this. In the kingdom that you've been doing, that you've been running your own show on, it was like this. I'm now telling you that there is a new kingdom coming, and the kingdom that I am announcing to you looks like this. Life in it is lived like this. And so Matthew chapter 5, verse 7 is the Sermon on the Mount, is Jesus telling them, okay, this is what the new kingdom is going to be like. And he begins the sermon with what I would like to call a guest list. Who's going to be welcome in this new kingdom? Who's going to be a part of it? We often refer to this as the Beatitudes. He says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The poor in spirit are part of this new kingdom. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. They're going to be part of this kingdom. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. These are people that in the old kingdom were typically left out. And he's saying to them, no, in this kingdom, you are welcomed in. Now, I think it's worth noting that Jesus isn't saying to those who are rich that they are unwelcome. He says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom. But he doesn't say blessed or unblessed are the rich, they're not welcome in the kingdom. He doesn't say unblessed are the domineering, they will not inherit the earth. What you see in Jesus' ministry as it unfolds is not that people who are rich, are powerful, are comfortable, are unwelcome. What you see is that they are unwilling to join this new kingdom. They're unwilling to turn from the kingdoms that they're living in to join this new kingdom that Jesus is announcing. The spiritual haves are content to hold on to the influence and have no interest in joining and they enjoy their existing structures, have no interest in this new kingdom. Those who are happy with their lives as they are have no need for the comfort of this new kingdom. Those who are not meek are busy taking the earth by storm. They have no interest in waiting for an inheritance. Those who hunger and thirst for more are never satisfied. Those with impure hearts have no interest in seeing God. Those who are unwilling wage war against those who are willing to receive this new kingdom. Jesus delivered a very similar message that we find in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5. He delivers a very similar message in Luke's gospel, in Luke chapter 6. But there are some subtle differences between the two messages. The one is, we know that they're different because The Matthew's account is from a mount, the Sermon on the Mount, and Luke's account is from a sermon on a flat, level ground somewhere. Right? So we have Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Ground, but he uses very similar language. He says in Matthew's Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the poor in spirit. But in Luke's account, the Sermon on the Plain, he said, blessed are you who are poor. In Matthew's account, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. In Luke's account, blessed are you who hunger now. Matthew is talking about a spiritual condition, poor in spirit, hungering and thirsting for righteousness. Luke is talking about a physical condition. Those of you who are poor, not just poor in spirit, poverty-stricken. Those of you who are hungry, those of you who do not have food to eat, yours is the kingdom of heaven. Poverty is the result of broken relationships. Poverty is the result of broken relationships. Think about this, right? If you know somebody and you love them and you care about them and they are hungry or they are thirsty or they are in need, you love them, you know them, you care about them, what would you not do for them? Right? We would do anything for the people that we love. But when there's a broken relationship and someone is in need, we don't have the same inclination, the same motivation, the same concern, the same compassion if we don't have a relationship with them. Now, you might say or contest, well, I want to help them, but I've tried before, and my attempts to help them didn't work. So it's not that I don't care about them, it's not that I don't have compassion for them, it just doesn't, it's not working in my attempts to help them in their poverty. And I'm not placing fault. Maybe that's absolutely true. But still, even if you have someone that you want to help and you can't help them and they're unwilling to there's still evidence that the relationship is broken. If they won't receive your help and you want to, something is missing. Something is broken in the relationship. May or may not be our fault. Poverty is the result of broken relationships. Those who are physically poor, those that Luke writes to, right? Those who are hungry now, those who are poor, lack resources. Food, drink, shelter. When we think of poverty, we think of people who don't have the necessary resources to support their life, to support their existence. But what is the deficit of spiritual poverty? What is the deficit of someone who is poor in spirit? Or someone who is hungering and thirsting for right? What are they missing? What are they lacking? Care, compassion, concern. Right? If someone's which are spiritually broken, we become obsessed with our own needs, with ourselves. Sometimes it manifests itself as greed or selfishness. Spiritual poverty sometimes is simply apathy or indifference. Right? I don't have compassion. I don't care. I'm not that concerned about what's going on or what I might do about it. I think more often than not, for many of us, spiritual poverty is simply a matter of resignation. I see a need. I just don't know what I can do about it. And it doesn't really seem like there's anything that I can do about it. Or there's so many needs, what difference can one person make? Or what can I do that would make any difference? Poverty is the result of broken relationships. If that's true, Jesus gives a solution to poverty when he says this, blessed are the peacemakers. Okay, if the broken relationships are the problem, what do peacemakers do? Peacemakers reconcile relationships. For they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who reconcile relationships. Blessed are those who stand in the middle between warring parties, between opposites, and build a bridge and bring them together. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who reconcile relationships, because that's what God's kids do. They're reconcilers. They're peacemakers. In 2019, I had the opportunity to visit Zambia. Zambia is a resource-poor country. And the people that I met in Zambia, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. People full of joy, of gratitude, of generosity, with next to nothing or less, and hearts full of life. Their comfort, their meekness, their righteousness, their mercy. When I met these people in Zambia, exposed my spiritual poverty. They had a joy that I find elusive. Passion. A concern for other people. In 2016, our Journey family got involved with World Vision. It's a global humanitarian organization out of conviction that God cares for the poor, the widow, the orphan, the oppressed, the forgotten, the overlooked in our world. You see it all through the Old Testament. You see it in the life and the ministry of Jesus. God cares for the poor and the oppressed. They are on his heart. So we got involved with World Vision out of this conviction that God cares about the poor. We love God. What's on God's heart ought to be on our heart. When I was in Zambia, I sat in a room full of pastors, and they thanked us for what we were doing to raise money for clean water projects in Zambia. Thanked us. It was embarrassing how grateful they were and how much they were celebrating and honoring and respecting us for what we were doing. Jesus said, "Don't fret over someone killing your body. Fear the one who can kill your soul." If Jesus was right, if the threat of losing our soul is greater than the threat of death itself, and there, my friends in Zambia are suffering a physical poverty. But in our wealth and abundance and comfort and security, we're threatened with a spiritual poverty. Then the truth is, these friends that I was sitting with in this room who were celebrating me, I needed them more than they need me. My spiritual poverty is a greater threat than their physical poverty. In groups last week, in our small groups, we heard what Jesus said to those who had turned from the kingdom of self to the kingdom of heaven. Familiar passage. You didn't have to be in group last week, I'll tell you. You are the light of the world, Jesus said. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. In the name of humility, many Christians want to be invisible. Right? We don't want to stand out. We don't want people to see us. And Jesus says, no. You cannot be invisible. You belong to my kingdom. You are a light. And you need to let your light shine before other people that they may see your good deeds and say, wow, you are incredible. No. That they may see your good deeds and give praise to your Father in heaven. Let your light shine. Let your light shine. It is about seeing a need and meeting a need. Seeing a need and meeting a need. For water. Because water is life. Right? You can live without food for 3, 4, 5, 30, 40 days. You can go without food for a long time. You can't go without water for more than a couple days. Water is life. Water is safety. It is the keystone to health. How do you get health care if the doctor can't wash his hands between visits? It's the key to education, to community development. Seeing a need. Seeing a need for awakening. To compassion, to gratitude, to generosity, to joy, to life. Peacemakers. Standing between the poor and the poor in spirit. Standing between the poor and the poor in spirit. That's why we got involved with World Vision. To stand between the poor in Zambia and in countries all over the world and the poor in spirit, which dominates our Western comforts and security, and saying we need something from each other. And we have something to offer. This isn't a one-way street. We have something to offer each other. And remember, peacemaking was what Jesus did. Making peace through his blood. Peacemaking is a bloody affair for Jesus.